Hi everyone, and welcome to an updated video on the current state of the walled garden at Prudhoe Hall. Cast your mind back to 2016, when the perimeter of the former hospital site was ringed with hundreds of security fencing panels, similar to those shown here on the old access road to the nurses' home. The installation of the fence was the first job done in readiness for the demolition of the hospital buildings to begin. To be fair, it was no mean feat when you consider just how vast the site was. Here's the security fence at the back of the walled garden on the Ferndean side. Here it is again on the Prudhoe Hall side. And here, ladies and gentlemen, are the incredibly impressive security measures the housing developers put in place between the two. That's right, there aren't any. At the walled garden's hidden and therefore most vulnerable point, there is nothing at all to deter or prevent anyone intent on vandalism from entering the site. I'm a great believer in action speaking louder than words, but what does this woeful lack of security suggest to you about the intentions of the housing developer towards the historically important walled garden? Let's have a quick look at the outer part of the Grade 2 listed wall. Here by the rear entrance to the garden, some of the heavy coping stones have been removed, along with several courses of brickwork. This vandalism has been done by someone wanting to make it easier to get in and out of the garden. The large tree by the rear entrance hides a multitude of horrors. Thousands of roots are growing up and over the wall into the garden. If nothing is done about this, they will eventually bury themselves in the ground on the other side, acting like a clamp. This places tremendous pressure on the wall and leads to cracks, movement in the brickwork, and ultimately structural failure. Ivy is a decorative plant which can also be incredibly destructive to structures already in poor condition, growing into cracks and dislodging masonry. That's exactly what's happening here. Prudhoe Hall was built around 1870 for wealthy coal mining industrialist Matthew Little. We can assume that the walled garden was built at about the same time. That means at the time of filming, this garden is anywhere up to 155 years old. The garden was built purely to keep the kitchens of Prudhoe Hall supplied with fresh fruit and vegetables throughout the calendar year, and at its height there were 50 gardeners working here at any one time. I'm about to show you the current state of what was once one of the most important places on the Prudhoe Hall estate. I'll start with a look around the outer edge of the garden, starting at the entrance by the Prudhoe Hall side and walking around to the entrance by the gardener's cottage. I'm going to let the camera do most of the talking now, but all I would add at this point is that the growth on top of the wall needs to be cut away completely, along with the roots on the other side. I would bring all trees down to a more manageable level. To reveal more of the wall, I'd completely removed the wilderness of bushes that stretched for a good 30 metres up to and beyond the rear entrance. Other than the wall, it's fair to say that this is probably the least important part of the garden, and hopefully it will become apparent why a little later on. I've had to make several edits in the footage due to the many times I got caught up or snagged on the undergrowth and tripped or almost fell in the process. The two large greenhouses were manufactured by Richardson of Darlington. Richardsons were well known in country estate circles for producing a wide range of glasshouses, like hothouses, palmhouses, orchid houses, and here at Prudhoe Hall, orangeries. They also made heating systems, and you can still see pipework in the floor and around the walls for that today, along with the impressively large levers that operated the ventilation system. Richardson's had a reputation for producing high quality products, which were not just sold in England but all over Europe too. Of course, all of that is a far cry from the dreadful state of the greenhouses and orangery today. But if nothing else, the fact that they are still here at all is testimony to just how well they were built in the first place. In case you're wondering where the glass is, it's been removed and is being stored safely off-site. But whether this structure is beyond saving is anyone's guess. A cynic could be forgiven for thinking that these glasshouses have been deliberately and conveniently left to rot, in the hope that the whole lot falls down and they can be replaced by houses. Either way, it's been left open to the elements, without any protection afforded to it whatsoever. Each of the glasshouses have potting sheds running their entire length, and I couldn't resist a quick peek at one of them behind the unlocked door. But I'm in the garden on my own, so that was as much exploring as I was prepared to do on this occasion. Before we take our final walk around the garden, I wanted to show you the remains of where the pond used to be. As you can see, it's been pretty much filled in, but a small part of the pond liner is still there and holding water. There are 2 wooden benches still in the garden today. The first is this one, with the inscription reading "Donated by WRVS Prudhoe Hospital, 1985", making this bench 40 years old, assuming of course that it's the original. The pergola that runs down the centre of the garden is in reasonable shape for its age, and it would look so much better with a simple coat of wood preservative. The second wooden bench sits at the end of the pergola and has a beautiful inscription which reads, "Presented in loving memory of our dear son and Anne's brother, Peter Watson, 1976. How sad to think that such a lovely sentiment sits among such decay today. Without a doubt, the most important plants still growing in the garden today are the apple trees, and I was excited to see that many of them are still producing fruit today. It's clear that the trees were pruned at some point in the last 10 years, but they are looking neglected and a bit forlorn again, and would benefit from another healthy pruning by someone who knows what they are doing. It would also be a good idea to clear out some of the brambles and other vegetation that are clearly crowding them out. When I was researching the history of the walled garden, I read of there being 20 apple trees, 2 each of 10 different varieties, and they sit at opposite ends of the garden. I love to think that some of these trees date back to when Prudhoe Hall was a private home. If that was the case, these trees would need to be 112 years old. And with the average lifespan of an apple tree being roughly 50 to 80 years, that's a pretty big ask, but not entirely beyond the realms of possibility. I took the odd comment of some of these trees being over 100 years old with a pinch of salt, and yet looking at the gnarly and knotted appearance of them, I can quite believe it. If you know what variety of apple tree any of these are, drop me a comment below. Personally, I have never seen apple trees quite like this before, and judging by the apples underfoot, they are still heavy croppers too. We're on the final stretch now, and I've been keeping something from you. You see, in amongst the deprivation, decay and general sad state of the walled garden stand two magnificent beacons of hope, each one emphasising the point that there are two of each variety of apple tree in the garden. I can't be sure what variety of apple tree these are, possibly Melrose, possibly Newton Wonder, or a host of others. Either way, I simply couldn't resist the opportunity of trying one. And what a lovely slice of history it was too. If actions speak louder than words, the renovation of the walled garden at Prudhoe Hall is dead, with little to no chance of resuscitation. There is no security fence to stop vandals from entering this historically important site, and there's already evidence of significant damage to the wall by the rear gate. Thousands of roots are growing over and into the wall from the neighbouring woodland, causing further damage to the 155-year-old wall. The gardener's cottage is open to the elements, and no metal shuttering was installed to stop people from entering it. The glass houses are derelict at best. Any recent contact with the developer by groups interested in the preservation of the garden have either been met with total silence or have been, quote, challenging. At this moment in time, life is well and truly over for the walled garden at Prudhoe Hall. Or is it?